You were never supposed to find this. I am not exaggerating. What you are about to hear was deliberately buried, labeled as dangerous, unstable, even forbidden, not because it doesn't work, but because it works too fast. Tibetan monks did not stumble into extreme focus by accident. They engineered it, and the core trigger was not meditation, not prayer, not years of chanting. It was breath. A specific pattern of breathing that forces the brain into sustained gamma wave dominance, the same brainwave state modern neuroscience associates with peak focus, accelerated learning, and moments of near superhuman clarity. I need you to understand something immediately. Gamma waves are not relaxation waves. They are not comfort waves. Gamma is the operating system of mastery. When gamma waves dominate, the brain stops drifting. It locks. Noise collapses. Time perception narrows. Distraction becomes physically uncomfortable. This is why early EEG researchers were disturbed when they first measured Tibetan monks showing abnormally high gamma activity at rest. The data didn't fit the model, so it was downplayed, softened, rebranded as meditative calm, when in reality it was controlled neural intensity. You've been trained to believe focus takes hours to build. That is false. That belief protects mediocrity. The monks knew that breath is the fastest lever into the nervous system, faster than thought, faster than intention, faster than willpower. And they knew that if untrained minds accessed gamma dominance too quickly, it could destabilize identity, emotion, and impulse control. So they hid it behind ritual, silence, and time. I am telling you this directly because you are already paying the price of distraction. Your mind is fractured. Your attention is harvested. And no productivity system will fix a nervous system locked out of gamma coherence. This is where the story begins. Not with peace, with control. Look at yourself honestly. You are not unfocused because you are lazy or undisciplined. You are unfocused because your nervous system has been trapped in a low-grade survival loop. Your brain is stuck oscillating between shallow beta stress and dopamine-driven distraction, never dropping deep enough to recover, never rising high enough to lock in. This is not a mindset problem. This is a biological ceiling. Every notification, every scroll, every abrupt shift of attention fractures neural timing. Your neurons fire, but they do not fire together. And when neurons stop synchronizing, intelligence fragments. Focus feels hard because your brain is arguing with itself. One network wants novelty, another wants safety, another wants rest. None of them are aligned. That alignment failure is the real exhaustion you feel at the end of the day. Here is the part no one warns you about. The longer you live in this state, the harder it becomes to escape it. The brain adapts downward. Gamma activity weakens. The prefrontal cortex loses authority. You begin to confuse stimulation with clarity and busyness with progress. You try to force focus with effort, caffeine, or motivation, but effort cannot override chemistry. Willpower cannot command a nervous system that never learned how to enter coherence. This is why meditation often fails modern people. Sitting still does not automatically repair a damaged breathing pattern. Shallow breathing keeps carbon dioxide too low, vagal tones suppressed, and cortical rhythms scattered. You can sit for years and never touch true focus if the breath never changes. The monks understood this threat long ago. They saw what happens when attention collapses. It is not just inefficiency. It is loss of agency. You are not broken, but you are constrained. And until the constraint is removed at the nervous system level, no technique layered on top will work. This is the problem gamma wave breath was designed to solve. This is where ancient silence collides with modern instruments. For centuries, Tibetan monks described a state they did not romanticize. They called it razor awareness, a condition where the mind becomes unblinking, stable, and impossibly clear. No drifting, no inner dialogue, no emotional turbulence, just presence with pressure. Western science ignored these reports because they sounded symbolic, until electrodes were placed on monks' scalps and the myth collapsed. What the EEG machines recorded was not relaxation. It was sustained, high-amplitude gamma wave activity, often above 40 Hz, synchronized across distant brain regions: prefrontal cortex, anterior cingulate, thalamus, firing together like a single instrument. This pattern is rare. In non-trained adults, it appears only briefly during peak insight or intense problem-solving, then disappears. In monks, it stayed. Minutes, sometimes longer. At rest. Without effort. Here is the bridge most people miss. These monks were not born with different brains. Their nervous systems were trained through breath-driven rituals that modern labs are only now decoding. Controlled hypoxia, carbon dioxide tolerance, vagus nerve modulation. These were not spiritual metaphors. They were biological levers, refined without language, but with ruthless precision. Neuroscience later confirmed that gamma coherence emerges when inhibitory and excitatory neurons lock timing. Think of it like an orchestra. When instruments play louder but out of sync, you get noise. When they play fast and together, you get power. Breath is the conductor. Slow, shallow breathing fragments, timing. Specific rhythmic breathing compresses it. That compression is what forces gamma dominance. This is why monks could enter extreme focus without external stimulation. They were not calming the mind. They were organizing it. And the method was never mystical. It was physiological, hidden in plain sight, past mouth to ear, never written fully, because once you understand the mechanism, you no longer need belief. You need discipline. This is the moment where myth ends and protocol begins. Now we go inside the machine. Forget spirituality for a moment. Focus is a physical event. Gamma waves do not appear because you try harder. They appear when the brain's timing circuits are forced into alignment. The primary trigger is not oxygen, as most people assume. It is carbon dioxide. CO2 is not a waste gas. It is a master regulator. And this is where modern education quietly failed you. When you breathe shallow and fast, CO2 drops. Blood vessels constrict. Neurons lose efficient fuel delivery. The brain compensates with noise. But when CO2 rises in a controlled way, something radical happens. Cerebral blood flow increases. Inhibitory interneurons begin firing with precision. The vagus nerve activates like a braking system, not slowing the brain down, but stabilizing it. Stability is what allows speed. Here is the metaphor. Imagine trying to run a high-performance engine on loose bolts. That is your brain without vagal control. Gamma waves require tension without chaos. Breath retention and rhythmic pressure create that tension. They slightly stress the system, just enough to force adaptation, but not enough to trigger panic. This stress is the signal. The brain responds by synchronizing. Modern neuroscience now shows that gamma coherence emerges when thalamic gating tightens. The thalamus stops flooding the cortex with irrelevant input. Sensory noise is suppressed. Attention collapses inward. This is why time feels distorted in gamma states. You are not processing more. You are processing less, but with extreme precision. The monks discovered this through sensation, not scanners. They felt the edge, the warmth in the chest, the pressure behind the eyes, the silence that felt dangerous because the mind had nowhere to escape. Western labs later confirmed that these sensations correlate with increased gamma power. and cross-regional synchrony. This is why the breath must be exact. Too little pressure, and nothing changes. Too much, and the amygdala hijacks the system. The mechanism is narrow, surgical, and once you cross it, focus is no longer something you chase. It is something that locks. This is where I slow you down, not to weaken you, but to keep you safe. Gamma wave. Breath is powerful precisely because it bypasses gradual psychological adaptation. That is also why it was restricted. The danger was never physical damage. The danger was destabilization. When gamma coherence rises too fast, the brain loses its usual escape routes. Emotional suppression stops working. Mental noise disappears, and whatever remains becomes unavoidable. Ancient lineages knew this. That is why strict time limits existed. 3 minutes was not symbolic. It was calculated through experience. Beyond that window, CO2 levels continue to rise. Thalamic gating tightens further, and the limbic system can misinterpret the intensity as threat. When that happens, the amygdala fires. Panic, dissociation, loss of bodily grounding. This is why untrained individuals who accidentally induce gamma through breath or psychedelics often report fear instead of clarity. Modern neuroscience confirms the same warning. Excessive gamma without sufficient parasympathetic balance correlates with anxiety states, not mastery. Gamma is a blade. Used correctly, it cuts through distraction. Used recklessly, it cuts the user. The monks enforced discipline because discipline was the safety mechanism. No shortcuts, no ego. This is also why you must never stack this protocol with stimulants. Caffeine, nicotine, pre-workout compounds all push excitatory load. Combined with CO2 retention, they destabilize the inhibitory balance that gamma coherence depends on. Again, this was known intuitively, long before it was measured. Understand this clearly. The limit protects the nervous system's trust. When you stop at 3 minutes, the brain learns that intensity is survivable. That trust is what allows deeper access later. Ignore the limit, and the brain defends itself. Focus shuts down. Progress reverses. Power always comes with a gate. This is the gate. Now I give you the protocol. Not a theory. Not a meditation. A neurological sequence. Read this carefully, because small deviations change the outcome. You are not trying to relax. You are training precision. Sit upright. Not rigid. Spine tall, chest open, jaw unclenched. Feet grounded. Eyes either softly closed or fixed slightly downward. Posture matters, because spinal alignment affects vagal signaling. Slouching leaks signal. This is not optional. Begin with a slow nasal inhale for 4 seconds. Not deep, controlled. You are filling the lower ribs, not the chest. Then hold for 2 seconds. During the hold, gently engage the pelvic floor and lower abdomen, as if sealing pressure. This creates internal resistance. Then exhale through the nose for 6 seconds, slow and restrained, as if fogging glass from the inside. No collapse. At the end of the exhale, hold again for 2 seconds. That completes 1 cycle. You will repeat this cycle exactly 12 times. No more, no less. The timing matters because it gradually elevates CO2 while keeping the vagus nerve active. By the 6th cycle, you will feel pressure behind the eyes or a subtle buzzing in the skull. Do not react. Reaction breaks coherence. Let the sensation exist without labeling it. On the final cycle, after the exhale hold, inhale halfway and hold for 10 seconds. This is the lock. During this hold, lightly press the tongue to the roof of the mouth and direct attention to the center of the forehead. Not imagination. Pressure awareness. Your body is now in the gamma window. After the 10-second hold, release the breath slowly and return to normal breathing. Do not extend the practice. Do not chase the sensation. Stand up slowly. Walk for at least 30 seconds. Ground the system. This entire sequence lasts just under 3 minutes. That is intentional. Precision beats intensity. If done correctly, your mind will feel unnaturally still, alert, and narrow. That is gamma dominance. No affirmations, no visualization, just physiology obeying design. This is the method that survived centuries because it worked exactly as described. Now I tell you what will happen, not in vague promises, but in stages. This matters because uncertainty creates fear, and fear breaks the state. When you know the map, the nervous system cooperates. At around 30 seconds, nothing dramatic occurs. This is the deception phase. Your mind will try to judge, doubt, and wander. That is expected. CO2 is only beginning to rise. Vagal tone is stabilizing, but gamma has not yet surfaced. Most people quit here. They mistake quiet for failure. At 90 seconds, the shift begins. Vision may feel sharper even with eyes closed. Inner dialogue thins. You may feel a subtle pressure band across the forehead or a warm expansion in the chest. This is not imagination. This is thalamic gating tightening. Sensory input is being filtered. EEG studies show gamma power beginning to spike at this phase when breath timing is exact at the final lock. The 10-second half inhale hold. The state stabilizes. Time compresses. The urge to move disappears. Focus no longer feels effortful. It feels imposed. This is the moment monks train to recognize and release, not extend. You are not meant to live here. You are meant to visit and return with control. After you finish, the after effect is the real metric. For the next 30 to 60 minutes, your attention will feel anchored. Tasks that normally scatter you will feel linear. Emotional reactivity drops. Decision-making sharpens. This is not placebo. Gamma coherence primes the prefrontal cortex while suppressing limbic noise. If you feel agitation afterward, you push too hard. If you feel nothing, your timing was sloppy. Precision reveals itself in consistency. The body never lies. The brain reports through sensation before thought. This is how you learn to read the signal. Now we remove the final illusion. This state is not for monks, caves, or cushions. It is for execution. Gamma without application is wasted adaptation. The reason this breath was preserved was not enlightenment. It was usefulness under pressure. After completing the protocol, you have a window. 30 minutes, sometimes more. This is when you do the one task that normally overwhelms you. Not many tasks. 1. Writing, studying, strategic planning, learning a complex skill. Multitasking will fracture the state. Gamma demands singularity. Here is what changes. You will notice resistance vanish, not motivation. Resistance. The internal friction that normally delays action simply does not arise. Thought becomes directional. When distractions appear, they feel irrelevant, almost foreign. This is prefrontal dominance. The thalamus is filtering noise before it reaches consciousness. Do not speak much during this window. Language disperses focus. Do not check messages. Do not consume media. The brain is in a teaching phase. Gamma states accelerate synaptic binding. Whatever you engage with now is encoded more efficiently. This is why monks paired this state with memorization and precision arts. Over time, something more important happens. Your baseline changes. The nervous system learns that deep focus is survivable, even normal. Gamma bursts become easier to access. The breath becomes a trigger, not a struggle. This is neuroplasticity, not mysticism. Used correctly, This practice does not make you calm. It makes you decisive. Calm is optional. Control is not. And control is what modern life silently steals from you. This is how you take it back. Now the challenge. This is where most people hesitate, and hesitation is the tell. Knowledge does nothing without repetition. The nervous system does not change because it understands. It changes because it is exposed, safely and consistently. For the next 7 days, you will run this protocol once per day, not twice. Not when you feel like it. Once. Same time each day if possible. Morning is best, before stimulants, before noise. This consistency trains circadian trust. The brain learns when to open the gate. Do not evaluate results during the practice. Evaluation collapses the state. You will measure success only by what follows. Did you complete the task you normally avoid? Did your attention stay narrow longer than usual? Did emotional reactivity drop? These are the metrics, not sensations. Here is the warning most people ignore. If you stop on day 3 or 4, the nervous system partially adapts and then retreats. Focus becomes harder for a short period. This is not failure. It is protective withdrawal. The monks knew this and called it the closing of the gate. Persistence reopens it. Quitting confirms the brain's suspicion that intensity is unsafe. By day 7, something irreversible happens. You stop asking whether focus is possible. You start asking when to use it. That shift is power, not hype, not belief. Control over your own cognitive state. I have given you the map, the mechanism, and the limit. What remains is discipline. Most people will not do this. That is why it works. You now know why it was hidden. The question is whether you will use it.